Here's my seat.
2 minutes of two separate meetings. First being the 19th of April.
Hey, Joe, that terminology, that sharp,
If you wanted, I could use a couple different styles. That's
that
new.
is really sharp, thanks.
So whatever one you prefer, we can stick with.
That was a meeting attended by John Flory, John Paul Fagin, and
That's
myself.
the new word program.
It was going over the sewer project deducts with Dave Harris from the Frank Henry. So we have three of us here who were present at that meeting.
I thought that took place in the morning.
Yeah, 9 o'clock.
Do I have PM instead of
Not
that?
PM. PM.
I'll change that.
I couldn't make it.
They get 125 hours without that.
Ought to be able to tell the difference between day and night for that rate.
Okay.
I make
I'll note that's an AM.
I make the motion for this.
So,
With that,
Motion and a second. Discussion.
with that one correction.
Okay. Corrections made. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Right?
John?
Yep.
And myself, I say aye as well, to make three. And any opposed? Motion is passed. Okay. Our next set of minutes are from our last meeting of May 1st. Are there any corrections, additions to those?
Yeah, I have one.
Okay, John.
On the front page there, the second paragraph where it starts, Mr. Flory, in reference to the bus. Minutes should be reflect the fact that he said, we better say Mr. Dryer said, because he's the one that said that he was assures that the handicapped and the, and also, Joe, the handicapped and the elderly would have transportation. And I think that's important in case something comes later. Also that, I would say.
Noted.
Second page,
Okay.
second paragraph,
Okay.
fourth line down. Miss Bossy
Mhm.
said she has not, should be a D on there,
Yes. Okay, that can change.
all right. The other one, Miss Bossy, way down to the next to last paragraph. Next to last line, Mr. Shields said he has not, should be seen.
Right.
Huh?
Again.
Yeah,
Okay, instead of the word then, it should be the word seen.
right.
Okay, that's changed. Are there any other?
Over on the last page, Article 8. Mr. Galley asked if you should that be a D on there?
We should have an E on there.
Okay, that's it for
That
me.
hasn't changed. Are there any others?
Motion to accept them.
Have a motion to accept the minutes as changed, corrected? And a second by John Floyd. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
No.
Any opposed? Motion is passed.
Rob, can I make something?
Yeah, something in a minute?
Yeah. Something on the one we should look into. Last page, next last page, page 3.
Just a minute, let me get my copy.
Again,
Third paragraph there. Are you who you're speaking?
the page one.
Page 3.
What paragraph?
All right, start from the top, I'm gonna call for
Yeah,
paragraph.
okay.
Mr. Galvin, question?
Uh-huh.
All right. Do we need an ordinance for that? Put that into effect? On sidewalks. Do we need an ordinance in a place to make them do it?
Oh, do the development.
Yeah.
Well, the planning commission, on the subdivision, maybe require sidewalks, but I think an ordinance policy would be even better. Or help.
Because we're relying upon the planning commission to do this.
Yeah, that's only for projects that would go through subdivision.
If we had an ordinance in place, what do you think, JP?
Yeah, we're gonna do that too with regard to mold.
We do intentionally.
Right, just tell Mark to include that in the same order.
Or roads. Sidewalks.
Yeah.
Sidewalks.
That way there, we can be sure that they're into the program.
Are we looking at?
Are you gonna do
something else?
You're gonna define that from commercial to residential?
The commercial down in the
Yeah.
Draft.
It's just,
or wherever commercial industry goes in, especially commercial.
that's what I mean, when the road regulations.
You wanna make a
He's gotta,
policy, whenever something commercial goes in, we
he's
put
gotta
a sidewalk.
define
Right,
it,
they put the
difference
sidewalks
between
in.
residential and.
The way it is now, we're holding,
Good idea.
Okay. Mark, I'm gonna have Mark check on that.
He's also working on an ordinance on the we brought it last night.
right,
He's done, John? Okay, I'll get that to John. Okay, are we proceeding with the signing of the orders? You want some extra time, or we'll move on? Okay. Questions from the floor? Anyone have any questions?
I don't have a question,
Ben,
Mr.
go ahead.
Chairman.
Sure.
My name is Edward Schwiebert, and I represent Chase Green Mountain Limited Partnership. And we have, through the course of several months and several hearings before the Planning Commission, pursued subdivision of the lands owned by Barbara and Paul Hood, just to the south of the Green Mountain Plaza. That subdivision was approved by the Planning Commission with a condition that the so-called Farrell Road be turned over to the town. A number of requirements were imposed on that by the town attorney and the Board of Selectmen. I'm pleased that as of about 2 hours ago, I think all of those various conditions were satisfied. My understanding is that the town attorney has reviewed all of the documents and has agreed that they do satisfy the conditions that were imposed. And I would appreciate it if, certainly if the selectmen have any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer them. And if the documents appear to be in order, if the selectmen would act to receive the conveyance of the road.
Okay. Joe, you want to enlighten us a little more?
Yeah, I would agree with what Dan said here. Mark Sperry and Dan and Joe O'Rourke and Mr. McGonigal have been working on this and finalized it today. Mark's drafted a motion for the board, if someone wanted to make it, to vote to accept this road with the condition, and that condition being that a Mylar come over here and be filed. That's the only missing document at this point. Rod has to be signed by the board or the chairman the property transfer forms, one for the road and the other for an easement, which Mr. Farrell will grant to the town to travel over his land to get to the turnaround. And like I said, Mark's reviewed this, and the issues about the future signage, those have been resolved, and it won't be at the town's expense.
where does our line stop there? Does she start turning in the barrels, or does it go way into the turnaround?
No, just before you, pretty much where it's straight here. When it starts to turn, you're already over the barrels. In fact, you know where the brook is right there? Right about there. Let's go.
Is there going to be a problem, Joe, being that we haven't got our clearance on that highway ones in front of it yet?
No, I don't think so. That's in the process of being turned over, as you know.
Yeah.
In fact, Steve's going to be here tonight, hopefully, or later we can ask him if he knows anything. Shouldn't be. No, I mean, they really went over this
I move that we accept it, but I don't know whether we should make mention.
Well,
of
I've got
It's a condition that Mark's
Oh,
written there.
okay,
There's a draft motion here that would protect our interest in this, and Mark has identified as the proper motion to be made. Now read it if somebody wants to support that by.
I also say Charlie's been involved from the beginning on this too. He had anything to say.
We gotta have a name to the place for them to accept it.
Okay, the motion reads as follows: to accept the Farrell Road deed from E. Paul and Barbara S. Hood, and deed from Farrell Realty Partners for the turnaround area west of Farrell Road. This acceptance is conditional and subject to the town's receipt of a recordable Mylar copy of the Spencer Engineering Incorporated survey referred to in the deeds.
That's fine, I just think we ought to add something to the effect of, with the stipulations that that other road gets finalized, because if we ever get stuck with that road and not the ownership of the other one and no one to maintain it. I know they said they were gonna do it.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with.
It had nothing to do with this.
No, but
That's all
the
part of the
entrance
state
to it,
thing.
you have to take that to get to this one, right?
Well, that's already a
Whether you
public
take it or
road.
you don't
That's
take it,
a
isn't
state
gonna
highway.
change.
Yeah, but the maintenance
Change
was
that
the,
road.
the argument.
Take it or
Okay.
don't take it, isn't gonna change the situation on
No,
that
that's a
road.
state highway road.
State highway right
No matter
now.
Maybe become a town road.
It's a
The
state
state
highway
doesn't
road.
wanna
Wait a
maintain
minute,
it, that's
wait a
all.
minute. It's a state highway road with no maintenance.
Right.
Right, but it's
Right.
not,
But I mean, there's nothing
We don't
we can do
own
about
that.
it.
No, but I understand that, but the state has told us they would not maintain it. So someone is gonna have to maintain that road. So if we take this road, that road has to be maintained to get to this road. And I just wanna make sure we don't have a problem. I don't have any
That-
problem
that shouldn't be
maintaining
in
it,
this.
but,
That shouldn't be in this.
No, it can't be in this, because
no, it couldn't be in that one, that's just for that road.
just for this road.
But
The only problem I have with this, we have a letter from Farrell stating that we can go in beyond our line plowing and come around and his turnaround and come out.
More than a letter, you have a recordable and will be recorded deed by which the town is granted an easement to come across the Farrell property and use that hammerhead turn. We've also left sufficient room off of the paved area on both sides and around the hammerhead to push snow off of, so that you wouldn't be having the snow trespass on to Farrell's property.
And will we be held reliable if, in other words, the plow digs up a little dirt or anything?
You would assume a natural
Well, they're
right of
always-
way
Well,
would be
it's
like
a-
any
yeah.
town road, yeah.
we have to have a 50-foot right-of-way on through there, right, Joe?
It is.
There is.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's no
I'll
problem.
work covered there.
The only problem I have is I'm
That's
concerned with the fact that
this Farrell property.
we have to have that parcel that the state owns who has told us that we're not gonna maintain it. That has gotta be maintained to get to this road. So by doing this, we also have to agree, I guess, that we're gonna maintain that other portion.
Or at least that portion.
The portion to get to this, right.
I see what you're
But
saying,
if-
John, but I
yeah.
don't think that should hold this up.
No, okay, I'm not for holding this up, we're gonna prove this, but I just wanna make sure that we get that other one taken care of. It's like having an island in the middle of the ocean, no way to get to it.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, I've read the draft motion by Mark Sperry. I'm not intending to make that motion as chair. If there's any board member who agrees, I wish they would indicate that that would be a motion on their behalf.
Did you see any changes need to be made in that?
I didn't say.
Did you see any changes need to be made in that we have said?
No, I think that that's fine. We'll be bringing in that Mylar as soon as it's available.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, a motion
Second.
from John Paul and second from John Flory. Any other discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion's carried. We also have a couple deeds, I believe, here that have to be signed, I guess by me as chair of the board. I would like the board's approval to do this if they so wish, in the form of a motion.
Is last one there?
Yeah, Mark said both of those.
Is that okay, Doug?
Yeah, I move it, Chairman. Sign
That's
it.
what we said.
A deed to accept the road from Farrell. Deed,
We don't have to accept that. We don't have to sign that.
It's the property transfer.
Okay.
Carol
it's a
said.
property transfer.
Okay, we have a motion from John Floyd to
Okay.
sign those. We have a second.
Yeah. Oh,
Discussion?
Does that include the water and sewer lines that are involved in the road, those deeds, so incorporate those? Because they are in the right of way. I assume they would, but it hasn't been brought up in the discussion.
Okay.
That we're gonna inherit the water and sewer lines that are in the right of way for maintenance purposes.
Oh, yeah.
Any other discussion? We have a motion on the floor right now. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is passed. Joe, exactly where is this to be signed?
Each one of them in the lower right-hand corner on the back. It says authorized agent, I believe.
Okay, I've got one here I can find.
Bottom of that one.
Now, this is a little different. Maybe you ought to take a look at this. The ton of them is typed out here, it's not here.
Same for this one. All for the town of Rutland.
Okay, I'll leave it with that. Okay. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your help and the help of the planning commission as well.
Sure.
Okay. Charlie Shields, you have your hand up.
Has the board been notified of the whereabouts of that gate that I questioned a couple weeks ago? The missing corral gate. The gate that was either stolen, moved, or borrowed.
What you'd like.
I ran into a couple of the recreation commission members and told them to remove the other gates that were there before they disappeared. But they didn't seem to know that there was another gate gone. But I was concerned about.
We're looking at, I don't know, maybe Kip knows the cost of a gate like that. What's the cost of a gate like that, Kip? $200?
Probably right at the city $100.
3 or 4 months.
I've been paying for 16 foot, of course, that's too much.
No.
Probably $125, say.
So we don't know where the first one went, but I told the recreation commission to please remove some of the others that were there. We didn't need them anymore.
Whose gate was it, the recreation?
No, it was Towns and General's a front gate. It was damaged and we replaced it.
No, that wasn't the one we taken. You mean the ones up at the, Post Road Extension?
Right.
That was the one that was taken. This had the wide bars, corrugated wide bars. The damn thing was 15, 20 foot gate.
It was a good gate.
It was a good gate.
I don't know.
If it belonged to me, if I was on a rec commission that belonged to a rec commission, I'd be looking in backyards right about now, because that's, if somebody took the damn thing purposely, it ought to be looked into. If you gotta get the state police. That's, just
I don't know,
going in,
Charlie.
just going in there on town property and just taking whatever somebody feels, no way. It's just like coming into this building and picking up one of these desks. It makes no difference. The recreation committee can't come up with it. I think it should be pursued.
I'll inquire, see if they have any idea where it may be. But I don't think they've had any need for any, so I don't think they would take it.
Well, maybe the town don't have a need for it, but somebody had a need for it.
It's important to secure the area as much as we can, you know that. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Anyone else for questions from the floor? If not, we'll move on. Reports from the health officer, building inspector is not here, we won't have those. Road commissioner?
Marshall was in today, he didn't attend.
Okay.
Well, actually, I do have a report Charlie would be interested in. He said that Butterfield Road is lacking in many ways, and he feels that 60% of all the work that's been done has to be redone. And he's notified Ralph Michaels of that, so it's got a lot of ways to go.
You know, we better pursue that, because there's a lot of houses down there now. I guess most of the lots are sold.
Well, they've hired their own lawyer who's following the progress of the road for them.
That was Jay Fred was involved in that. He came in that night for the first 2 applicants that bought lots down there, and he was aware of Mr. Butterfield was in here, that there was some concerns. We want that road done.
And going back to that gate and this road here, there should be a letter sent to the fire department stating that we have accepted another road.
Yeah.
And also, Marshall should be notified.
Well, I told Van to send a letter to the planning commission with the request of the name. And then
That's my question.
right, then we in turn will give it to you once we accept the name, which probably more than likely will be the Farrell Road. But that's the formality we should follow. They ask us if they can name it that. We say yes or no. Then we'll give it to the fire department. Marshall. Yeah.
This Butterfield development, there are people living in those houses down there now, correct?
Yeah.
That road is accessible for fire equipment?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been down in there a couple of times. It's not bad.
Because I heard there was some bad spots in it.
Well, it might be down around the corner, but I was there in the fall, so it wasn't bad in the fall.
I mean, is the road going to Bellevue?
I'll go in again though, Tim, and check it out, just to be sure, yeah.
I'll take a swing at it.
You still taking questions from the floor?
Sure.
Well, I'm just wondering what happened to that Bear Hill road sign.
Oh, yeah, I had
It's
that on
been
the thing
missing now
here.
for a month.
Yeah, I had
Somebody
that down
took
here.
somebody took the whole 9 yards sign and all.
Yeah. Do you know what happened to it?
No, but
I don't know who
I
they eat
got
it.
3 things from Marshall here, and that was one of them.
Okay.
The sign that said Bear Hill Simons Avenue is gone. Must be up on somebody's bedroom wall. The pole is gone too. While we're on it, Joe, why don't we just do it now? This, the Bear Hill Simons Avenue sign is missing. We had a request on someone on the Gleason Road saying that right on the bottom of the hill, right where the city-town line is, they thought there should be a school bus sign, probably one on the other end too, because it said cars are coming over that hill quite fast with the school bus stopping there. They thought there should be some school warnings, or probably a sign on both ends. One would probably be have to be right at the line on the bottom there.
Yeah, that'd be above the.
Above Heritage Hill, or up in that area for them.
Well, below that, near the,
Right next to
the
church.
witnesses, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right way carpeting.
Yeah, and then just to ask Marshall to take a look at Maplewood Park. They said that there was a water line or something put in, and that's recessed a little bit, just a little rough, and then up on Avenue B, apparently there's a blacktop breaking up or something. I had it on
Also,
that.
the marker that tells you the height of that underpass is hanging by one bolt where they tried to pull that out too. The cement and the whole darn 9 yards on that. So if that thing is missing, I'm afraid the town's gonna be liable, because there's no marking. The height of that bridge is 10 foot 2. Clearly marked with that thing, it's like a triangle type thing.
Yeah, but the sign is hanging there
Just
now.
hanging by one bolt, they couldn't get that one
Take
loose.
a note of that too, Joe.
Yeah, it's a choice, it's passing under there.
Yeah.
Root away.
It's kind of high-risk area over there.
Getting to be high risk is right. That's where deep protect all that.
Protect this lawn.
There's been more than one
About
that
that.
Yeah,
found out the hard way on that fight.
any other discussion on highway business?
Yeah, we didn't get our signs down at Ranberry Road for the opening of the farmers market. They're parking all over the place. Plenty of places in St. Johnsbury to park, but they're right out on the road. They don't want to get tied up in the,
Marshall went down last week.
there's
and
no
put signs
signs.
up. Did somebody
Down
knock
there
them
Saturday, there's no
I
signs.
parked by Sulfro there, whatever you call it. Boy, that thing was a success, whatever it was.
But,
The farmer's market.
oh,
in my
yeah,
opinion.
they drew a big crowd, it's
They
gonna
really
get
did.
bigger, but
The free ice cream.
I thought we agreed we're gonna put up no parking on the paved portion of the road.
We're gonna put 3 up down
I
there.
didn't see any
He
bus.
did go down, he stopped and saw me, and the day they went down.
$3.
And
Unless, because I was watching them park for quite a while there.
Might want to bring it up, have Marshall check.
Might want to follow that up with Marshall on that. Maybe didn't get the signs in yet. They might not have been in yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen them up
Because
either.
you wanted to put them permanent ones.
Yeah, I haven't seen them up either.
No.
They were too busy. this
No,
summer.
it's a nice operation.
Yeah, oh,
It sure is, Charlie.
It's a
I was
nice
impressed.
operation. Yeah.
Yeah, if St. Johnsbury Trucking doesn't object, well, that's a beautiful place to
That's
park.
where I parked. A lot of people are parking there, but some of them want to park on the road anyway.
God, that whole empty lot there, take all the cars they can possibly.
I know he went down with 3 signs. He stopped at my house and signs, I saw him, they were in the
I
truck.
know, John didn't see him either.
I didn't notice.
didn't notice.
Somebody
I'm in there
removed
quite
them,
often.
and I talked to Aaron Adamson, and he said they installed them.
Let me look again. Maybe I missed it, but I looked around. I
See,
didn't
maybe
see
I
it.
did, I didn't notice
I didn't
either,
see
Charlie.
anything.
No,
You're in
I-
the same thing.
Huh? You didn't see it
South
either?
side.
Just make up, makeshift
South
ones.
side of the road is when we put them. On the south side, 3 sides.
Yeah,
Didn't see
yeah.
any.
Yeah.
No parking for, up where his used cars for Kenny Motors was. He had about 4 used cars. He had some no parking signs up there. And some tape across there, so you couldn't pull in the back of Kenny Motors.
Town signs?
It said no parking.
Free ice cream, so food.
Well, Joe, asked Marshall about those signs. I know they went down.
Two flavors.
Any other businesses relates to highways?
Sure, have Marshall check into that rubbish over there on Simmons Road. See if it's on town or what it's on.
Well, no, I can answer for that,
Can
it's
you answer
not.
that?
That's at 68 Simons Avenue, they've got a picket fence there, and what they're doing is showing the railroad fence. And it's landing between the fence and where the railroad was, which is right behind Johnson Energy's fuel tank. If you look behind Johnson Energy's fuel tank, you'll see it there. And that's, maybe what Joe ought to do is notify, what's his name there, Joe? The fellow who owns that building from Brandon.
Oh, case.
Case, just have Case clean it up, it's his tenants.
Okay. Not on town property.
No, it's not on ours.
Okay. Anything else on highways? Moving on to recreation, Karen and Ernie and Dell won't be here. I did get a visit today from Larry Delvinary, Ernie Choppy. They've been looking into replacing the diving boards. The diving boards that are there have been there since the pool opened at Northwood Park. They're fiberglass, and they have some irreparable cracks in them. They have been pricing new boards to replace those, and the best price they've got so far to replace new boards is about $5,500. They are talking with a gentleman who just finished the pool work up there, and he's going to try to locate them some boards at a better price if he can. The problem is that other manufacturers of diving boards do not want their boards placed on the framework that's there. They're holding the current boards. So we're looking at boards that are made by the same manufacturer as the originals, and they will accept putting their boards on there, but we're looking at a price tag of around $5,500. We found other boards that are comparably priced. If we replace the framework that holds them, we're looking at another $7,000 just to replace the framework. So, you know, they're searching out, trying to get the best prices they can out of anyone who will install those boards on the existing stanchions and framework that's there. But as of tonight, $5,500 is the best they're able to do. And you know, we may be looking at depreciation fund motion next meeting to replace those boards because they can't be used this year. They're not safe. So that's an update from that. Any questions? Okay. Moving on to Planning Commission, Chairman Charlie Brothers.
Just a couple of things. Did the letter go out to Zamias?
Yes, it did.
On that, no response so far. The Gene Stiles project, he pulled his application for a used car lot up there. The individual that was going to open it went back to South Carolina, so that's gone. Another new project on the Chase Enterprise property on that other freestanding green spot out front. Got a call from the engineer from one of the banks. There's going to be a drive-in bank there. So I've asked them, once they get their landscaping plan and their traffic and site work done, that we'd like them to come in and explain it to us, because there are some concerns on other drive-in banks where they don't have room enough to queue the traffic, and it's out in either in the parking lot or on the highway, especially on Fridays. You know, they'll let the car stick right out. So we've got a serious concern that there is enough room and the bank is situated so they can get all the traffic onto their property on the busiest day of the year. So some engineer from Burlington called, and I think they're going to do a site visit tomorrow, and just as soon as they get some paperwork, they're going to bring it in to show us. That's about it.
Charlie brought up the something to the effect of the policing of that. I noticed, but I imagine the permit probably covers it. None of this thing says law enforcement security, just as security, but that's understood as law enforcement.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
permit.
That's in the permit.
Law enforcement capability.
Yeah, that's in the permit.
There'll be shoplifting and bad checks and everything, and somebody's gonna have to chase them up there.
We will meet with either Amy Zamias or a representative of his corporation anytime we want to meet to find out what's going on with this thing. I would hope by the next meeting we would have a response from our letter that was sent to them.
Probably you don't get any information from them, because I get a local paper in Orange County, New York, they're putting $6 million into putting up a Kmart, Zamias Group is, into a mall that had just about gone out of business because of the Galleria one. They knocked down Sears and Roebuck, putting a Kmart in. Zamias Group, $6 million.
Where's this, Charlie?
Orange County, New York, down near Newbury. It's in Middletown, New York.
Okay.
Must be Super K, huh?
Yeah.
Well, like
They're
Bugs
Kmart's
Buzz.
closing up all over the country, and they're putting a new one in.
They're monster stores, everything in there.
Yeah.
This group is doing the work.
Any other planning business, planning commission business? Regional commission, David?
First, I'd just like to remind you about the ad hoc zoning meeting next Monday night at 7 o'clock on the 22nd, and to
advise you that we have, Joe has started on revising or making another proposal for zoning from what the committee has been submitting to him. We have this much of it we've been working on, I guess about 20%, but I asked Joe if he would keep a file so that any town resident or anyone could come in and review what we're submitting to Joe and also what he's generating. Apparently his computer program's working real good because it only took him a day or two to do. I guess there's about 30 pages here. It came out real good. Joe's doing a real good job on it. So if there's any questions about, what the committee's working on or what the work product is, there'll be a file maintained and Joe will have that so everybody can have access to it.
I have a question. How much longer do you think?
I think about 2 more meetings, hopefully. Don't you think so, John? And Gene? Another couple meetings, and Joe can go really quickly on this. This was sort of our trial run, and I give him about a 25% of it, and he did it in 2 days, so, he ought to be able to do it in a couple of weeks after we're done, so. So hopefully by the end of June, we should have a revised proposal to submit from the committee to the Board of Selectmen. It's basically, as you all know, we took the proposal of the Planning Commission and submitted to you, and are making some revisions to it. So what you'll have before you is 2 proposals to review for possible zoning, and then when it reaches the Board of Selectmen level, we'll have to review it again, go to hearing at that point, and then decide if you're going to vote or, townwide vote on it or adopt it by Board of Selectmen. And as we reviewed at the committee level, if it is adopted by the board, the citizens still have the right to petition it for a vote. So. But at the point the committee's done with it and submits it to you, it'll simply be another proposal along with the Planning Commission proposal for zoning. There's 2 other issues I wanted to report you on. One is that the Regional Commission, there's been a bit of a movement to get the Regional Commission more active in the Act 250 process. As you know, the tradition in Rutland County has been that the Regional Planning Commission has not got too involved in the Act 250 process, in contrast to other areas of the state like Chittenden County, where they actually have a chair reserved of every Act 250 hearing for the Regional Planning Commission Executive Director. And there's a committee working on this issue at the Regional Planning Commission to develop guidelines as to when they would come into an Act 250 proceeding, on whose side for or opposed to a project, and under what criteria. Traditionally, it's been they would come in just to say whether or not the project was in conformance with the regional plan, and then only after the town's either invited them in, the town where the project is, or they determine it was of substantial regional impact. Unless I hear different from you fellows, I thought the view we have on it is that they should limit their testimony to criteria 10, whether or not it's in conformance with the regional plan, and not get into all the other criteria, aesthetics and water quality and all the rest of it. One good reason for them not doing that is they don't have the experts, on staff to prepare a lot of evidence. In other words, a more limited role for the Regional Commission. But, from the years I've been on the Regional Commission, that's always been the Board of Selectmen's point of view. That
You're correct.
It should be the town more or less in the driver's seat with the Regional Planning Commission, just limiting it to the regional plan.
That's still.
Yeah, I agree with Dave. That would only eliminate more local control if they take that over. I think we ought to leave it local.
Agree?
Regional Issues Committee.
Yeah, that's been a bone of contention for quite a few years.
Yeah, it's heating up there. They've got done with the regional plan, and this committee that's more active, one of their subcommittees, is looking for something to do. So now they're looking to get involved in Act 250. Maybe that's a cynical view, but the fellow working on it, Wally Rogers, he is from the environmental interest, and he's a good fellow, but he's also very active and does a lot of work. So, this time, they said before they might come into Act 250 stronger, but I think this time it might be a stronger push, you know, on certain people's part anyway. The last thing I wanted to report to you was on the bypass. I called today. I call every so often to get a status report of where the process is at. And when I contacted Adele Foz, he said he could no longer speak to me or to anyone about the bypass, that the agency had put a limit on his ability to speak to citizens. And this was rather strange, since when the bypass EIS started, they made a big deal out of their 800 number, and if you have comments or questions, call and, you know, either get information from them or translate information so their study would have more information to work with. Well, it turns out, I guess they had a meeting about the higher level officials, and the agency was concerned that some of the things the consultant has been telling us or other parties, the city and others, may not have actually been in line with agency policy or thinking. So they want to make one spokesman now and put the consultant off limits. This happened after Frank Evans has been promoted, so he's out of the picture now. And a new fella is now a project manager, and his name is Mark Jungvall. It's a weird name to spell, Ljungvall. And Adele Foz also told me that the decision-making authority had been transferred from being directly under Secretary Garahan to what they call contract management up there. So I called this new project director and asked him what was going on, why we couldn't get information from the consultant anymore. He basically said because of miscommunication. He seemed like a nice enough fellow. I asked him if this meant the project had been downgraded, if it was going back to planning, and he said no, definitely not. It's still in design, which means projects in design are more on the fast track. The ones in planning are years from anything happening. But he said it's still unclear if he's working directly for the secretary or if he's going to be under Gordon MacArthur. And that's something that got resolved. I also called Bennington, who is going to be sort of handle it on a local level, Allison Church and a fellow by the name of Mark Page. And he said that he was in the process of reviewing the alignments that had been presented by the consultants. Berger, they're down to the 4 routes, but he said they had some problems with them, that some of the roads they laid out were what he called below design standards, and he was making changes and sending them back to the consultant. And when they get all these changes made and the agency agrees, then they will present it at a public meeting. But one thing that happened, which I think is very important for us, is that the rebuild existing option, alternative, which they were supposed to have maps for the improvements to 4 and 7, has not been done yet. And they said that was because of a mistake the consultant made by assuming the agency had maps for Route 4 and 7 and so forth, which they don't. So they're going to have to fly those routes over again and develop more mapping, which is a long process. So we're still going to be in the situation where the 4-7 improvements are not given the kind of attention that the bypass is. And it was an interesting coincidence. This new project director, Mr. Jungvall, I talked to him about the 4-7 improvements. I said, well, those were definite projects at one point in time, 4 or 5 years ago, and then they just seemed to go farther and farther on the back burner, and now they're like 320 on the priority list, and they're back in planning. And he said what happened was the city submitted their documents and signed all the papers they needed to, but when it got to the agency, they figured out there wasn't much detail to these projects. I mean, it just said reconstruct Route 4 or widen North Main Street or South Main Street, but it didn't say give any more detail. So he said at that point his division couldn't really deal with it, like put detail to it, so they relegated it back to planning. So I think it's correct to say that they have been going more and more on the back burner, you know, as the last few years have gone. So in other words, the JHK recommended improvements have disappeared. I mean, that they've evaporated. And now this new consultant is going to develop supposedly at some point in time, some new recommendations for improvements to 4 and 7. So that's pretty much it. I think this is a significant development because the flow of information is very important. And if they're starting to go underground or try to present a sanitized version of what the consultant is doing to the parties, I think it indicates that, you know, more of a need to press for information and get information.
Excuse me, David, John Anderson aware of this change?
I don't believe so.
No.
What I was going to suggest to you is that you might want to have Joe go down some afternoon to Bennington. I asked him where the main file is being kept, and they said in Bennington. And this is their special projects office in Bennington, and to get, you know, a copy of relevant information from the file. That's one action that I strongly encourage you to take, because what will happen is they'll show up at some meeting and they'll have the routes. And then if you want to dispute the routes, we can't just say we don't like the routes. We have to have, you know, evidence for why we feel they picked the right route or whatever. And it's difficult to develop that evidence without knowing what information they've been using. The other item I think is important for us to request is a computer program. The bypass committee's been working on trying to get this. Inquire as to what computer program they're using and ask if we could, you know, have a copy of the information they're using. Howard Spinner's been one that's been pressing for this, and this is what they'll use to determine which route is picked as far as traffic service, which is going to handle more traffic and so forth. The conclusions they arrive at will be based in some degree on these computer models, and they've always kind of danced around the issue. But now that they've sort of put the consultant off limits and, you know, canceled our ability to get any information from him, you know, I'd highly suggest that maybe the board should request that Joe at least go through the file and see where we're at with this, what kind of, you know, assumptions they're making and so forth, and to request the computer program we're using to model this.
I think though that our attorney should request that, there's a legal...
Yeah, maybe he could. The last time John Anderson did, it was a long, dragged-out affair, though, and that was different. That was federal highway, but he ended up in the Freedom of Information Act, and that was, what, about 5 or 6 months it took to get Joe. This, the reason I mentioned Joe is I think it'd be a little faster, because under Vermont's open meeting law, they'll be operating under that, not under the federal Freedom of Information. They have to give the evidence or the information over much more quickly to anyone. You don't have to be an attorney. And this meeting is coming up here. It's unclear to me after what they said today if they're going to wait for the information on rebuilding 4 and 7 or not. The guy in Bennington said we're just going to go ahead with a meeting with the 4 bypass routes and just going to tell the people we don't have the information on rebuilding 4 and 7. The guy in Montpelier, when I said to him, you know, that may be a hot button if you show up with detailed bypass alignments, but no engineering for 4 or 7 improvements. And he said, well, yeah, we're kind of worried about that, but he didn't really make any, you know, commitment to get that information. So if they show up at the meeting, you know, in another month or so, I think we'd be well advised to at least be prepared, you know, for what assumptions they've made and so on. The only encouraging thing was this engineer that's reviewing it said to me, he said, you know, it may be that we won't be able to do any of these bypass alignments, or encouraging from my point of view that they might look at rebuild existing, because he said they all had some major problems in northern in the power line in Wheelerville.
We told them that years ago. You know, somebody finally woke up. So
Yeah.
we all knew a long time ago.
You know, and the other thing for not using the attorney is the fees involved. You know, it'd take probably an afternoon of Joe's time, and I don't know what, it's not a hard job. I go down and do it myself, but I don't.
It'd be similar to the last time.
Last time we went to Montpelier, yeah.
It's a matter of going through the file.
What does the board think about that?
Should stay on top of it as much as we possibly can be.
Yeah? Okay. You want to do that, Joe?
Sure.
Okay. Get the address for me. Okay.
And That's it, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Did you have something?
Well, I got a little list there. Go ahead, dude.
You want to let Joe go first?
I've got a list too, so.
The first on the agenda.
Wait a minute, you got some, Dave?
No.
Oh, you just here for entertainment?
You just go over to
okay.
business?
Well, with the shirt he's got on, you
I
better
keep missing
be,
out.
I didn't know if we had a new militia gathering here or what here.
with the shirt he's got on, you better brought us a turkey.
We just finished working.
Now you just woke up.
My second job.
So you guys together?
Yeah.
Oh, phone taking out your frustration.
All right, Joe, go ahead.
Free ice cream.
If I could test, I can just send that around. It's the item that the board approved previously. It's to transfer some money that the state had for highway, came extra. We approved it. Forgot to get you to sign it. We've agreed to send the money to the general budget.
Right.
And if you sign this, that's what will happen.
Okay.
And 3 signatures in.
3 signatures, fellas. 2 signatures, this one quiet here. I don't know what the status of that is.
I would have to ask Dick. I don't think.
Yeah, I think Dick's the only one that
Check
can
it out.
help.
How many bridge money?
Yeah.
No, we hadn't been billed for our share. Our money was still sitting in escrow, making interest. The last time we knew, the state hadn't asked for our share.
I'll check with Dick.
Don't complain, take interest.
You saw in your packet there, you had a notice for reappoint the town deputy health officer.
Right.
That's been Stanley Rhodes last few years. Actually, I got this just last week. I haven't had a chance to speak with him, but I do expect he probably want to be reappointed. He seems to.
Yeah, I saw him, he's interested in it. I'll vote to reappoint.
Motion to reappoint Stan Rhodes, and second by Jeannie as deputy health officer. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. Excuse me for a minute, all the orders signed?
Yeah, I
Could I
think
could I have them all here, please? I'll keep things together. Put this in top of that pile. Thank you. Okay, Joe.
And the next item I had was the solid waste agreement with RST. They have submitted this back.
Okay.
They have highlighted a few things, and I didn't get a chance to discuss all of them. We had put in the incorrect price, so we put $61.50 a ton at $61.54, so they penciled in the correct number there. But one of the issues they had in our agreement, proposed agreement for solid waste, is the 2-hour response time that we required them to be able to meet. And I think they bring up a valid point. They would like to have a key, because there are times when they could get up there and get in if they had a key to do this. And presently they don't have a key, and quite frankly, I don't have a key either, because the one that gets in there is missing. And they're reluctant to go ahead and sign this if we won't, the board will not provide a key. I don't think it's a major issue, but I think it is a real convenient issue. The other day I had to let several contractors in only to find the gate locked and the key missing. I understand Recreation Commission has the key, but it's supposed to be here in the box. So they would like to have a key if at all possible. And they had cited that by highlighting these two in the proposed agreement. And then they raised another issue. I spoke with JP before the meeting. They didn't supply their proof of insurance with this, and they had asked whether their proof of insurance for their overweight permits would suffice. And John took a look at it and said he thought it would. So that didn't come in, but I have it out in the house, so I can attach a copy to this. Okay. So they're ready to sign this and go. Like I said, there's a few highlights, and I'll pass it to Juan if you want to speak with them first. The only issue they really made anything out of was the 2-hour response. They would need a key.
How's the board feel about letting out a key to lock them in to move compactor box in this floor? Yeah.
Gotta get in there.
If you create the problem.
Yeah,
Now,
if
what
you
we
expect them
probably
to
gotta do is
respond in 2
we'll give
hours.
them a key, and as far as we're concerned, there's no reason why they shouldn't have it, but it's just on a day-to-day basis, so if you ever felt we should call it in, we can call it in. I wouldn't make it a yearly contract like the contract itself is. So why don't we authorize them a key, that's just on a day-to-day basis? And, you know, they've got it, that way we've got control of the key within the year. I have no problem.
Are they key to like the two dates? That The outside one, the one by the...
I really don't know, Charlie. I've never had a key to
I
any
don't
of those
know.
places, so I
What
don't
was that
know.
question?
Are they key to life? They're two gates.
No, they're not.
You don't have two keys.
I'm
Well,
gonna,
we wanted that, but
Charlie?
we got changed up there.
I'm gonna have to look in that box right behind that door there that was put up 2 years ago with the keys in it, see if they're the same.
They probably took the box.
Huh?
Probably took the box at the gate.
No, we don't have
Sign the whole.
Rod, did you want to go ahead and sign this tonight? For the board?
Up to the board. They want to approve it, I'll sign it.
They haven't signed it yet. They submitted it, they said with those highlights, you know, like I said, the big one was it was within the 2 hours, let me see the other ones.
Well, if we're giving them the key, we're eliminating the 2-hour problem, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
So that's,
Just
let's
like
take
that.
care of it.
One thing you want to do is check with Marshall and Karen, because those locks up there get changed quite often. I don't know if we carry the big key on the engine.
Have they been changed lately?
I don't know, but it does happen. Nobody informs anybody
Lately, I've
else.
been having to cut the chain out instead of a lock.
Yeah.
So they just take a link off at a time. The chain's getting shorter, the lock's the same.
Oh, the other gate going out of the backside of the transfer station, they just lifted off the hinges and
That's right,
threw
that's
it
got
aside.
it, yeah.
They don't even bother with it. It's just laying there, brand new gate.
Who's going up in there?
They had, Olympus had to get back down in there to dump some stuff, and they took some hay off, put to reseed. Someone had to get down to drop that back there. I don't know who else, but I was up there those 2 times.
Go back to the brush, the stump pile.
Oh, still done.
It's back there.
I don't know how you can go ahead and sign this when you don't know why they highlighted the areas they have.
Well, they didn't close a letter. I thought someone was going to be there. But see, the big point they had talked about on the phone was the 2 hours. I'm not clear what they're trying to say about
I don't
that.
know how we can sign it.
Unless we decided what. Should I ask them to be here or see you later? I'll get some clarification.
Okay.
Yes, we got a request here from the Board of Listers. Just pass that around, needs all signatures for an extension for the grand list.
Oh, yeah.
They feel they're gonna be late this year.
That's not unusual.
All that's going around, you saw in your packet, probably the city has approved the Windcrest Road people connecting into, they didn't approve the connection of the town line, they approved the sale of city water to these people. And I think this is pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
It's made of items John had talked to the city about. And they were happy, the residents down there when I let them know, so they're very appreciative of the board for moving this along.
There's no difference whether you can have indoor or outdoor. I wouldn't give them an excuse. Give them the rights. Talk sense.
Should I follow this up with a letter and clarify that?
Without permission. On an as-needed basis without permission.
Check bases here first. Sure.
Well, you fill out this deputy health officer, I signed it, but Stan's name there.
Yeah, I don't think they want to touch it without the town permission. Right. So we'll discuss that with them already. The next item was in your packet, it's an additional or proposed new fire hydrant. I understand Tim may know something about this for the school.
Yeah, I've got it jotted down here. This came in late, I had Joe put it in the packet Friday afternoon before it went out. And it's from from Stacy Chapman, chairman of the school board, and they're asking if we would pay some of the cost of putting a fire hydrant in front of the school. I guess there's some funding from the state involved to tune of about 30%. The balance, which is about 70%, will be borne by the town. The approximate cost of putting the hydrant out near the road would be $6,000.
Is there still gonna be the hydrant in the back?
Yeah.
So I think this is the.
So you're gonna have
This
a
is the
whole,
one.
you're gonna have a large area of building now in front of that hydrant.
No, I understand that, but I just
That's
wanted to
what we
make sure we weren't gonna eliminate the other one.
That's what we
I hope not.
But, yeah,
Well, no, it's still gonna be back there.
it's still,
That's gonna be moved from there.
oh, that's right.
Yeah, some. I met with Stan last Friday. At that point, they had it 33 feet from the north side of the new gym. And it was 5 feet from the new classroom, industrial arts, whatever area. I requested that it be moved to at least 33 feet west of that added area. Whether it will be done or not, I don't know at this point.
Is this gonna be up by the road like all hydrants are? I don't.
As far as
see-
I know.
Yeah, it's, it's gonna be by the road. It's the cost of the taxpayers, dollar for dollar, whether we do it or the school does it.
Yeah, but is this an extra?
And it's, what do you mean?
Is this an extra? Or is it already in their contract for such a thing as this?
Oh,
No,
I don't know
think
that.
so.
I believe this is an addition to
It's
the.
an addition, it's an extra one.
If it's an addition
I
to,
requested it of the school board. I went down and talked to Berryhill. I was asked to go down and talk to Berryhill about what we needed. And I was under the assumption it would be in the cost of the building project. Now come to find out they don't want to do it because they're short on money and they got to cut costs. So they feel that the town should pay for it instead of the school. I don't know if that's
but was it,
business or
was
what.
it figured in, you think?
That's what I want, yeah. That's figured in, why they should take care of it.
I think it was
In their
figured in.
contracts.
We thought it was a deduct. Much like we did with the sewer project. We did some cutting on that in areas that we felt it wasn't a priority. In order to,
Yes, but a fire hydrant is a priority in a building of that size.
Right.
I mean, we don't
Should be no
have,
deduct on that.
without that, we don't have the gallon flow. The insurance company is gonna say, "Hey, wait a minute here, folks."
Because you got the one down the hill, but that's still, you got to run, that's quite a run to get it up there. I think we need to do a little while talking on that.
Where did the money come from?
I'm not real sure. I'm not really sure. We've got to extend a water line in that direction anyway.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay, we all know why.
But would it be that size?
I don't think it better be.
The water line will come off this anyways, typically afterwards, so we can make it smaller. I think you're right, the line going to the hydrant would be bigger than what we need.
Yeah, that'd be at least a 6 inch.
And when we come off that, we can reduce it.
Seeing as how we gotta go up there anyway, maybe we can do it cheaper than the school, save the town some money.
But I don't, I don't think, I don't know how much longer they can wait when the ground's dug up. I think that's the time you want to put pipes under the ground, not after they're covered, grassed over, and go dig them out.
I'm gonna be honest with you, it's gonna be next to the road, it says right here, close to the post road. It will service Blue Ridge and all those other areas across the street now. It will actually be in the town right away. It's gonna be no more cost to taxpayers, whichever one of us buys it. Because, $6,000 whether the school spends it, and it's taxpayers' money, or $6,000 whether we do.
But what I'm saying, John, if it's already in the contract, the money's already been allocated for it.
No, it's not.
If it hasn't been, well, that's something different.
What you're thinking is that they would spend the $6,000 someplace else, is that what you're saying?
No, if it's in the contract,
Yeah.
and when they figured the price of this job, if that was in the contract, that's their words, not ours. But if it's an extra, well then that's something different.
Well,
It's already been cut, Kim. I think they've already cut it from the contract. I think it was there, and I think Tim's right, they've eliminated it.
Did they eliminate Tim?
And now they're asking for the board to come in and fill it in.
I think
That's
they want the
an insurance
hydrant,
problem.
but they don't have the money to put it in.
yeah, I moved that we put it in. Because it'll be a town hydrant, actually, kept everyone.
Yeah, I have no problem with that, but I just want to know who's paying for it.
Taxpayers.
One other thing,
No,
I know what you're saying.
How if it's in the contract?
you ought to put a backflow on that beyond, if you're going beyond that hydrant. So that if we ever use the hydrant, we don't end up sucking everybody's
Yeah.
water heaters and toilet bowls dry
Good
too.
idea.
And then you got more problems.
Okay, I got a motion from John Floyd, do I have a second for that? Okay, no discussion.
Are we gonna look into the fact that maybe the line would be on the side of the up through project.
Well, I was gonna say from that point on, when we go across the road, we should run at least a 3-inch line
Well, whatever it takes.
from that box.
What's a normal pipe size feeding hydrant? 6 or 8?
I think that's a 6 up
That's a
there.
big 6-inch.
Yeah.
You go beyond the smaller net and you don't have
No,
enough
you
flow.
can't go smaller. I knew 6 was probably a minimum. I wondered if it might have been an 8.
I don't think it is.
I know
up
there's
there.
plenty of water coming out of that 6.
But what I'm saying is if we go beyond that to take care of other problems, when we cross the road, we should put in at least a 3-inch, so
Yeah.
we could take in more than that project. We had to.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Right.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Next item, Joe?
Next item, attended the Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day on Saturday. Shrewsbury, was a total of what would appear to be 21 town vehicles that came. We turned 3 around because they had dried out cans of petroleum and latex that could be deposited in the solid waste. So there was 18, which was the second highest town participation of any town that went to Shrewsbury that
Really?
day. Next to Shrewsbury, Rutland Town had the most people.
They went up there, huh?
Yeah.
That's
Charlie, did you
surprising.
make that up there?
No, it was tied up with a golf tournament, I'm sorry.
Oh,
You missed the black flags.
Pardon?
You missed the black flags. They were out.
Really?
I'm glad we had,
There was none, right?
It was very good. They seemed to appreciate it. They didn't mind the drive.
Good.
Last item I have, Rod, I met with the gentleman who's going to be the manager down at Kmart today, Fred, I think it's Rousseau, and also the regional manager. And he wanted to know if the board had any, what he'd like to do is donate money to some local nonprofits. And he wanted to know if the board had any recommendations they'd like to make to them as to what nonprofits would receive that money. So I told him I'd bring it up tonight. He said that'd be fine. And I was thinking the Boy Scouts or maybe the Cheat Hill Center or something like that, perhaps. But he's looking for the board to come up with some recommendations.
Fire department.
Any idea
Also
how much money
hydrants.
they were thinking?
Well, he's-
Hey, Chris, fire hydrants, sidewalks.
Well, anything, right?
Yeah,
Nonprofit groups.
we're nonprofit, right?
If you'll donate it to the town will certainly be a profit.
oh yeah, we didn't make money.
Let's keep paying.
And also-
No, I think that would make a difference, Joe, on about how much money they were thinking of giving.
I can ask him.
Yeah, I think that would make a difference on how you vote it.
Yeah, we'd like
I think it's a nice gesture on their behalf.
Yes, I do too.
the flagpole and pole up to the community center.
Yeah, that's what I mean, we ought to get an idea how much money they're talking.
Didn't we pass an ordinance of a town beautification fund at one time? I think we got one on the books, of town beautification. Remember Donald put it in there, any fines or any extra money was coming in, we're gonna plant trees and spruce up different streets in the town.
Tell you a project that we've had on hold for a couple of years is the refurbishing of this monument out front.
Right,
Yep.
that's good.
You know, this is a town beautification fund, and I'm pretty sure that was passed at one time as an ordinance, that we're allowed to use that money. You might look in the codicil, Joe, on that.
I remember it too, Charlie. I'll find it.
Yeah, that would be something, you know, refurbishing that, or, you know, a new flagpole, new flags.
We just talked about that.
And tonight, Charlie and I were looking at that, and it's really getting in bad shape, and that's a good thought.
What does it need? New carvings or just cleaning?
Needs new
It needs
carvings.
more than cleaning.
These are letters to.
Cleaning, and if nothing else, the letters painted.
Spring,
but
so
it-
bring out the letter.
Well,
It should be gone right over, and we got estimates on it. And
It was high at the time, I remember when we got
I
those.
had to
But,
find out.
Well, that's the main thing, Joe, is find out about,
Yeah.
I guess the difference is gonna
Well,
make about how much money
these
they're
other people that wanna come in, I think we have the authority to take that money on a nonprofit basis for doing something like that. I think it's worth looking into.
Well, if it's small money, we should probably give it to the Boy Scouts or something.
Right,
They're
but if
talking
it's a few
bigger
hundred
money.
bucks, you know,
That's a
I'll
good
offset the cost of doing that monument again.
Yeah, that's,
Charlie's my name, we get pretty well rubbed out there.
that would
My
certainly.
name's not on it, that was my
Your
point.
name's not on there?
Not, absolutely not.
How come?
My name is in another town, hidden away somewhere. That's okay. I want this for you fellas to have your names on it. You should protect your monument. That's what I'm interested in it for. No, really, serious.
Thank you.
My name's not on it. Believe me, if it was on, that thing's been refurbished.
What are you, flat?
Spelled it right anyway, Charlie.
See what they're talking, and we'll try to give them some direction.
There might be something in recreation too.
Agencies are, when someone does something like that, I like it to be physically out there so people can see and appreciate what certain individuals have done for the town or whatever, rather than just donate money and then just have it lost somewhere, where no one can identify that it was ever given.
And they're also going to be inviting the Board of Selectmen, Planning Commission, Town Clerk, myself, listers, Fire Department, and constables to their grand opening, as well as the mayor and some city officials. So that should be coming up, I guess, this month.
When is that gonna be, Joe?
Fire Department said
They'll be at the store. I'm not sure that they.
No, I just wondered about when they think they're gonna open it, so.
That all straightened out
June
now.
11th.
That all straightened out now.
Getting time to this call.
Well, no, not yet. I talked to one of the guys from Moore Construction, they're in the process of putting it in at this point. We're dating.
It's a
Library letter.
yes.
We all got a copy in our packet. It's a little sensitive. I'm not sure if it's something this board should deal with, or if it's more in line with the school and what their policies may be up there. Regarding censorship of materials in the library as they pertain to youngsters, and they're asking the tax-supported communities, which would be the city, the town of Rutland, and Mendon, Timoth, and Ira, because it's possible that pressure may be brought to bear upon selectmen and aldermen regarding what may be appropriate for youngsters to be picking out of the library and what may not be. And I think Paula Baker, who we all know very well, who comes in here on behalf of the library to talk to us for his money and updating us on what the library is doing, sent us a letter asking us what our position would be on behalf of the town. I don't know how involved we should get. Does anybody have any idea? Should we refer this to the school and the school board? We're much more in tune with issues regarding children than this board would be. As they may relate to this kind.
I guess we don't run the library. I guess what this board should do is just probably follow through with the library doing what has to be done. We actually don't run the library, so I don't know how we're really involved.
Why don't we send Rod to send this to the school board, let them.
Sure.
Well, we don't run the library, but we contribute over $60,000.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that we contribute to them to furnish us our needs. So I think it's their responsibility to furnish us the right needs, and otherwise we should be getting involved in this.
But we also have people from the town who are on the library committee.
Well, yeah, well, they're on their board or
I
what have
think,
you.
we are somewhat involved in what goes on at the library. But I don't know if this board wants to make a position regarding what should be censored, what shouldn't be censored for children, because it's.
I would like to
issues
see
enough
the library board, which includes a couple of our members, do what they have to do. I don't know how we can really get involved in it ourselves. We just want whatever's right. So.
I don't see this letter asking us to do anything.
Really?
No.
Yeah, I don't think we should.
It isn't, but it's giving us an opportunity to get involved if we want to be, because we are a contributor, and we do have representatives on the library commission.
I saw it as informational only.
They just want to, unless someone has a position they want to take, we will table the letter. Is that what you're saying?
Put it on file. Received on file. Put it on
Okay.
file.
All right. Okay. You have no more?
That's all I have.
Okay, Tim.
First thing is 4th of July fireworks. If you guys thought about, you should be thinking about a place to light off fireworks. Because the school is definitely out.
What about the baseball field?
Markwood?
Yeah.
Now I want to check with Brett, Committee first. I think it'd be an excellent place.
We can check with the school board.
I think it's going to be, what night is that going to be?
It's always on
4th of July.
All right, because Charlie, isn't that when the Chamber's having theirs on the 4th?
Yeah, Rutland Chamber of
The
Commerce gonna have
fairgrounds a
fireworks
big
for the
one
first time
put
in
on by
many
the
years.
Chamber on the 4th, so they'll be good.
We could see a smaller crowd.
Yeah, but with the construction going on up there,
Probably
Yeah.
use a smaller crowd.
Yeah. But I think the recreation area is ideal for them.
Yeah, but there's,
Parking is a problem.
And it's a good year to try it there.
Why couldn't they
You know,
park
to
in the
see
field?
if it works out fine, then it would be a continuation there. I think it's an ideal
I
opportunity
think
to
less
try
on the
it.
road up there than we do at the school.
Yeah.
I think we ought to ask the Recreation Commission
Sure.
before we make that decision.
Well, yeah, absolutely,
You
right.
probably won't get so many people from Rutland this year as in the past, so they'll take care of some of it.
We, at Rotary this morning, we had to speak to the Chamber. He said that they were.
Tom Donahue was there.
And he mentioned it was gonna be a real good fireworks display.
Yeah, I know, they put a lot of work into this. There's a
Yeah.
rodeo with the fireworks to follow.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
So-
right.
The fairgrounds on the 4th, the Chamber's putting on.
But like he said, it would be probably an asset to us because of the problem where we were having at school. But why doesn't somebody ask the recreation if it's all right? And if you think it's a good place to set them up.
Shoot 'em
I
off
think
the old
it'd be-
landfill.
Huh?
I'd rather
Yeah.
see them there than where I heard this morning.
Touch
back
off
in
on that
the
thing.
East.
where would you say up there?
Up there, those new ball fields.
Down back or the ones
The
out down
ones
the
on the
road?
east side, east of the transfer.
Up back to
My
Charlie's.
backyard.
That way you could paint
Mine.
the
Sure.
park out
Well,
there.
Sure.
that would be the school board we want to check with then.
Nimba.
Well,
Yes
no,
and
the
no, but
recreation
the
area is the
recreation
one that's gonna
puts
be
up-
used, yeah.
Charlie
I
can
don't
come
know
over
if
and
they're
Right,
measure
but
out
the
there.
parking is the big thing.
I don't know if they're gonna wanna park cars
It's a
on
lucky
those
thing.
newly seeded ball fields.
No. It's right on the target.
But I think, we'll have to ask them. We've got a couple months to do it.
Why not down the other ball field? Down the back ball field.
I think we're gonna need the whole place, for parking. Although, we have a big area up there, we don't have a big parking
How
area.
you shot them off in the back ball field, you could park them over into the new ball field. Or you could park.
I don't know.
Something we should probably take a look at.
Right.
That's
If you could ever get it up there where they do the polo races up there on East Pittsford Road, if you could ever get that land to put them on. Pack a lot of cars in that one field. Run them off on the side
Gene
hill.
on that one.
I don't think that's something
idea.
we put
Right on the
cars
pole.
I don't think
either.
our guys want
No.
to. You wouldn't get that many cars out there.
As far as parking vehicles on baseball fields, polo fields, any type of fields with special grass or whatever, it's not even gonna be considered.
Shoot 'em off from top to side.
Because it looked like it's been plowed the next morning. Believe me. We're talking about either meadows or pastures, whatever's available, or blacktop parking lots.
Well, if
As
you
far
use-
as the actual fields themselves, I don't think anybody wants to be parking on those.
If you use the upper field by the landfill, they'd be parking the whole length of Post Road anyway, so they've done it right along, so what's the damage?
Yeah. Actually, there's a benefit to being parked on the recreation in the post road over where the school was because of the fact that most of your traffic continues on post road. We're actually on post road extension, so I think it'd be a better spot to park along.
Yeah, and they
Post
park
Road
way
extension.
up off.
Sure.
Going
And then,
towards
and
the,
then Charlie has 3 or 4 parking spaces.
Sure, he'd
He'd
rent
be
them
the
all.
one that wants the
Right.
fireworks right from his
$5
house.
a
Price, I gotta put them on my lawn.
Sure.
The only problem is, every 5th of July, I always tell you, you ought to open the gate up and let people in there. But the gate has never been open where people get off. And that curve where Park Lane starts and Post Road Extension is, you couldn't get a bicycle through there. Every year when you have, and if an emergency vehicle had to go through there, forget it. It is, you can hardly walk through that road, let alone drive through. People are parked on both sides and there's no shoulder to pull off on either side, and they got the whole road.
Be surprised how quick that missing gate will show up on his driveway on the 3rd of July.
I think with the city's fireworks the same night, or the chamber's fireworks in the city the same night, and with the additional parking that they will find down in the recreation area, I think it'll be a less impact than it was going along the school.
I think we have to talk to the rec commission. though.
Yeah, that's the move.
Somebody's gonna have, they're gonna take a number of people to be up there, keep people off those fields and where they ought to be. And it's gonna take some traffic control to get everybody out of there after it's over.
Or you just keep the gate locked?
Huh?
Or you just keep the gate locked?
Yeah, I think you have to give them a post code though.
You gotta let them, you gotta let them.
It ain't gonna make it worse than coming out of the schoolyard.
No, right.
But I will mention it to the Recreation Commission, have them get back to it as soon as they can. Anything else?
Yep. I need permission to take truck to Brandon for the 4th of July parade up there.
I moved that we do that. I was asked if you were going up there this morning.
That's Chris talked to me.
Oh, okay, yeah, so I took
Earlier.
I moved that we do send them up there. They're looking for it. They asked because they hadn't heard any response yet.
Yeah.
Okay,
He's on
motion,
that one.
motion to send a truck to Brandon for the 4th of July parade. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Discussion.
Parade on the 4th of July.
All in favor?
Right?
Any opposed? Motion passed.
I know that now.
You said you have an alarm ordinance in the works.
In the works.
Okay. Just checking. And lastly, the 911 stuff. I got received a map about the size of one of these walls to put the streets on in the town of Rutland. Do you want me to list the streets as they are today? Or are you going to change any street names because of similarity?
Do we have the right to change any street names? There's one we should change. That's Sunset Drive.
Yeah, in the whole thing of paper that tall, there is some things that you can do as far as changing names. It's a rigmarole. You're going to cause some upset people in town. However, eventually it probably should be dealt with. But this map has to be back by the end of June. So I don't think you're going to have time unless you do it real soon to change any of these names. I would suggest we send it in as is, and you guys can change them later.
It's gotta be a procedure or something.
There is, I can show you the packet on it.
People having to change their address
Oh, they're
and
gonna be
notify
happy.
I mean,
state,
people ain't gonna be
federal
happy.
government, everybody on the mailing list and whatever. It's asking a lot, and the development has quite a few homes in it. But, we've got to think about that.
So I'll send it in with the present names of streets. That's it.
New business, board to discuss lister assistant position. I don't know how many of you know, but Howard Burgess informed me the other day that Elsie Graziano has resigned that position for personal reasons immediately. So we have no lister assistant who is employed by this board to record the inventory of personal property numbers as they come in, and get them on a computer or whatever. Position's vacant. They've had one person express some interest, but it's our employee. It's up to us to determine the next course that will be taken to replace Elsie.
To advertise a position like we did last time.
Elsie?
No, I was just gonna say, it's gonna have to be done soon, but it's the only right way to do it.
There is someone who probably
Left position, no, it's vacant. But we gotta act soon.
Hemingway. He graduated from UVM, master's degree. And he's
Yeah, if we got somebody, get him in here so we can
yeah,
talk.
he came in and actually inquired, so Howard met with him, and I think he brought it.
I think Howard's also mentioned possibility of job service.
Yeah, get him in and we'll take a look at him.
It's not a very convenient time right now to be looking for someone because we really should have them now. Unfortunately, Elsie's situation was such that she couldn't continue, so we're left with kind of a bind at a bad time. This data should be entered as it comes in right now, and we'll find someone to do it.
Maybe some of these
So
businesses.
it's very important, I think, that we replace her with someone as soon as possible, so we can hopefully continue developing a grand list on time.
So you can handle it?
Yes, he did, and Howard thinks he can.
Who is it?
Yeah, it's Charlie's son, the one who just come back from the Peace Corps.
Yeah.
Charlie Henry.
Oh,
It's Roger's
Fine.
brother.
but if the listers are happy with him, we all know him. I don't see any problem with it.
He's a smart boy.
I know the time is right now, really right.
He's got
We wait.
impediment of speech.
Yeah.
We're not gonna be able to do anything about it next year. What do you think, Phil?
Yeah, if you got somebody.
Yeah. I moved it, we hire them, they need them anyway. This is, we're on time.
Okay, a motion to hire, Mr. Hemingway to replace Elsie. So we get the grand list
Yeah.
put together in a reasonable time.
Second.
Second by Gene. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? Motion's passed. Howard would have come in tonight to explain that, but he was injured his back and thought he better lay low for a couple of days, so he's getting some much needed rest. Under old business, review proposed road acceptance policy. We all got a draft of that. Charlie, you get one of those?
Nope.
From Mark Sperry. You all have a chance to read this?
Took a few minutes.
Yeah, it takes a while. There's quite a few pages here.
Yeah. Book. The planning commission is the one that handles these roads before it gets to us. Did you see this, Charlie? What do you think? What do you think?
Main thrust of that, which was, I had suggested you do and you agreed, was it makes the applicant responsible to pay the town's legal cost of reviewing their road. Because as you know, we spent several $1,000s in the last couple of years. So it's really after the planning commission's did
I
it,
see,
that's when
okay.
the road's proposed and we get into the legal review. And either I'm tying up my day researching this for people, or that Bush, the town lawyer, who's researching it for people.
If that's the case, and our attorney drew it up, I don't see what's the problem.
Well, I think though we should have a requirement that there be an engineering certification.
We
The
got
road
that.
is built to town
I
specs.
think we've
We
already
already
got
have
that.
that stuff done.
Well, this policy doesn't have it.
No,
And
but we have it at our level.
well, I think we should have it
Yeah,
at
on
our
ours,
level
yeah.
too.
It has to be certified that it's built to the town specs by a registered engineer.
That's not in there, John, anywhere?
No,
Yeah.
Mark references it saying he didn't put it in, but he would put it in if he wanted it.
You want this
Just put it
amended
in.
then?
Yeah.
Just typical
Item
cross
3 is
section,
his letter.
road is instructed, prepared and certified by Vermont licensed
Wait,
engineer.
Gene found something here.
On page 2, in the cross section, on B there, cross section. And if you take a cross section of the road,
Certified Vermont licensed engineer, yeah, is that good enough?
No, that's just giving you a cross-section by an engineer. But what his letter says is he hasn't included in here a requirement that there be a certification that the road is built to town specs. And I think that should be in there. Look at item 3 of his letter, Gene.
yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I thought that would take care of it. Okay.
Yeah, that's very important.
You wanna have that added then, and then,
Yes, and then approve that with that addition.
okay. Any other problems with it that anyone has?
We don't have a performance bond or surety in there that you're going to require at the time of acceptance. Because he sent us a letter to that effect that instead of presenting it as built with a surety bond for the amount of the paving plus 10%, he's recommended that the builder present that to you at the time he gives you the deed, and it's good for a year after the acceptance. So if it busts up within a year after you guys buy it, you've got money to repair it at the contractor's expense. He sent us a letter to that effect, because we've always done it prior to you accepting, got that bond out of the developer. Is that in there?
Don't we have that on board now, Charlie?
Well, we made
Yeah,
a
but
policy.
now
so,
this
yeah.
is gonna be your policy that we're gonna have to adhere to, and if you don't get it in there, we're gonna be in a conflict with your board.
Yeah, okay.
I think that should be in there. The procedure you're gonna use for, either letter of credit or performance bond, that's gonna stand up for a year. We've bought a lot of poor roads in the past few years, we're fixing them now.
Yeah, that's well taken, because we had discussed that not too awful long
Yeah.
ago.
That should be enough.
I
Okay,
think we probably better do
we'll
it.
table
Add
this
those
tonight,
things.
send it back to Mark with those,
Ron, could I add one more thing?
Sure.
You might want to compare that with the subdivision regulations too, because, or ask Mark to compare it to make sure they're consistent and reference the same standards, because there's language in the subdivision regulation which has the force of a zoning bylaw, and it's the subdivision regulation regarding town roads and the construction and the standards they should meet, and it would seem those standards should be the same. In other words, you wouldn't want somebody to build a road one way for subdivision review and then turn around and you guys have a different standard for whatever reason. So they should be consistent, subdivision regulations and your road policy.
I did had Mark look at those.
Oh, you
before
did
we
already?
this, But I'll make sure I made a note on that. Just went over that one day.
we're gonna send this back to him with those, requests noted.
That's a good point.
Does he have copies of the planning commission
Sure.
so he can review them?
I would assume he does. We'll send him a copy anyway. Make sure he does.
Well, we didn't get a copy.
I'm sure they really.
It's
Yeah,
a
give
little
Charlie a
late
copy.
after it gets beyond us, and then you guys say, hey, whoa, 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 that doesn't meet our standards.
Okay. North End Sewer Grant Application, is that what's sitting here, Joe, for
Yes,
signature?
in that folder.
Okay, this is, that manhole in the city.
It's more than one, it's several catch basins.
And we all have to sign,
Sure.
there's 6 lines. Okay? See with this?
Yeah, I think we already agreed to that.
Yeah.
There's a meeting this Friday, by the way, at the site on the project.
Oh, really?
Construction trailer, 9 AM.
Anybody will make that meeting? Yep, John?
I'm gonna try it.
When is it?
Friday morning?
Friday, I think, 9 AM on construction trailer on the corner of Post Road.
Yeah.
7th.
Try it.
I've already met with him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Ken did. Okay, review Westminster Crackers tax stabilization request. Joe, you want to give us a little information?
Yeah, they had sent a letter, as you know, previously, and it was very unclear what he had done, because when I talked to him, it turns out they bought new equipment. And he has the value here, I don't have a copy in front of me, but then the board established a policy that was over 100,000. With big stabilization and bits and pieces over the,
Normal would be 25% 1 year. That's what we've done with others for some property.
He's got net change here of about 300,000.
Yeah.
Are they taking on more space in that building, Joe?
I don't know if they took on more space, John, or what.
Okay.
I don't think they have. I think they
Huh.
brought a new packaging
Yeah.
piece of equipment in, and that's reflected.
Yeah, it's a pretty good operation. I've been in there a couple times. It's great.
So what's,
Whatever, is that what we gave, whatever we gave the
that's
other?
what we've been giving, is 25%.
I move that we do it.
For 1 year.
Inside of the same.
So we're going to 25%. Second motion, and a second. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? As I think I've said already, we've received the recycling proposals. We have 3. Rutland storage trailers, Casella, and East Mountain View. Joe, that's 3.
Sellers, Mountain Transport, and RST.
Okay, we've got 3. And I think what we should be doing is sending those down to Greg so he can sort through them for the spreadsheet, so we can make a decision on the company for our next meeting. Isn't that what you had planned, John?
Yes, sir.
So we can put it together? Is that all right to do that then?
Good.
Okay. We'll stick those down to Springfield for Greg to get through. All right, I don't have anything else. Steve, you got something?
Before we get into Steve, can we go back to that road acceptance policy?
Yeah.
I think we've got a project coming up in and who owns the road, I don't know, but it's only 40-foot right away. And it's gonna be, start developing it. Forest Park project.
Forced away.
It's Forest Way, but they call it the Forest Park project. And we got a letter from Mr. Abatel that they're starting to go forward with the development. They got an opinion from Bill Burke on it. And the existing right-of-way is only 40 feet. Maybe you ought to consider asking Mark on this policy, are you going to accept roads that are pre-existing or pre-planned at 40-foot right-of-way where you're requiring everybody else to go 50-foot?
Did we change that?
Well, you changed one, but now you got another one coming up. This is a different one.
It's not built, is it, Charlie?
Pardon?
It's not built yet.
Part of it is, and part of it's proposed. Now, I gotta go back in the files, and Joe and I discussed it, that whether they deeded that over to us in the 40s or not, I'm not sure.
Is this a 250 project?
No, they've been exempt, grandfathered.
What they're proposing to do, Rod, is the street, I think, beyond Dave,
Yeah.
would be north of Dave Stanton here. There's several lots down the end of Forest Way. And what they're gonna do is they're gonna combine the lots and make them bigger. And Act 250 has waived jurisdiction if they make them bigger. Charlie's point is, and I think it's a good point, it's what you were just bringing up. They've only got on paper now a 40-foot right-of-way. And if they want to make it a town road, they're going to have to re-subdivide it. And that would probably bring them in for the town planning commission at that point.
So, this is something that, these older projects that are on paper, are you going to accept it? Now we've said 50 feet, and they've never revitalized, so to speak, these projects. Now they're coming to life, and there's only 40 foot there, so they got to reconfigure the project.
Yeah, they do.
So I think this should be in the road acceptance policy. We're not going to accept anything less than 50 foot right away.
It is in the road policy.
You know, Joe,
We're established. Is that one in the new one? Yeah. See, I haven't seen that, John. So I
that's
don't know.
another thing on there, that's a good idea. Once it's adopted, they've got to do it.
Well, it's up to you guys, but I wanted to bring that up. We got a letter last week from Mr. Abatel that they're exploring going ahead with some development work in there. How much, I don't
It's
know.
already there, Ken.
Joe's gonna add that to that list we had
No,
for these changes.
the park's already built when it got 20, 40 foot.
Built, we got.
What part is built, I think we're licked, but anything new,
There on
there's
down,
nothing there right
that
now.
goes down should be
He
50
has to
foot.
be required to do what everybody else has to do, it's the only fair way.
No, I thought I'd bring it to your attention that if as long as we're doing the policy, we better make sure it's in there.
We're looking at a major impact on the school system.
Yes, a lot of lots down in there. Yes, major impact.
Dave, we can't get hold of that?
Who's doing the developing, I have no idea. It didn't get into it that deep on it. We're waiting for more information from them.
Keep us informed.
But you say the ag changing lots after 1 inch, 1
Just
acre?
3 of them. Just 3 of them. They requested them bigger. I'd have to get out the old plot plan on it. There's a lot of lots involved in there. There's at least, how many would you say, 13, 15 more down there? Half acre?
It's hard to say because they're very small.
Yeah, they're very small, half-acre lots. How many they're gonna expand, I got no idea. Only 3 they've been mentioned.
Are they planning on pulling a sneak in and coming that into a cul-de-sac and running the other 3 into cul-de-sacs?
I have no idea. I haven't seen any plans, just that old plot plan that was submitted, I think, 1942.
Before the war.
It was accepted and recorded, was it?
A map showing something that may get built someday.
Yeah.
Probably enough document. If the town accepted it,
Yeah, but it never got built. Well, it'd be the same, in my mind anyways, it'd be the same way Dave Street was handled here. The houses above Dave Stanton are 40-foot right-of-way.
Yeah.
And when they proposed to develop the rest of the street, the board said, no, it's going to be
Oh, that's right. No,
otherwise we'll
absolutely.
take it over.
Yeah.
So they had to re-subdivide and take off land from the other road, the other lots, to create that. And hopefully you do the same here, so you
Yeah.
have 50
Oh,
right away.
as far as I'm concerned, the part of the road that hasn't been done has to be 50 feet. That's not grandfathered in anywhere.
Yeah,
There's
see, they
nothing
played
there.
games the last
If there was a
time. They didn't
road there,
re-subdivide, they
there's
just
nothing there.
changed the lot lines. They didn't re-subdivide the last time. We didn't get involved at all in it, but now we're talking a lot more lots.
50 feet, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't give or take there, 50 feet.
Well, what happens if the town back,
The town accepted a
if
road
to
less
accept the
than
roads
50
down
feet,
through there
then
for 40 foot?
and they accepted it.
Oh, the part that's been accepted and it's in use.
What if it hasn't
Yeah,
been,
but
what if
how
we
about that?
accepted the proposed
The line they put
extension
down through,
and at 40 feet?
all the
And
way.
nothing's ever been built there, but it's 40 foot that we accepted.
When did we accept it?
Well, I gotta go back to
back-
the files,
you'd be
but
back-
I
you'd be
think we
back and
paid
forth
money to
through it,
research
right,
this
Bob?
one
I
time.
understand,
The
but
Why
jury
would
will
you accept
research
a
that.
road that wasn't built?
that's right, how could you accept it when the road wasn't built? Secondly, they went way past the statute of limitations time of 7 years and never did a thing. I think it's an all new ballgame.
Yeah.
But,
I think it's an all new
Hold
ballgame.
something for
I
eternity.
don't think
No.
anything will hold at all. Huh?
It's like any septic system.
In the 1940s, and they haven't done anything till now, you know, we're in a changing world.
Yeah.
I
That
don't,
was 50 years
and I
ago.
agree with you,
Yeah.
John. A road was never really,
Some lines on the map, John. It's
hot, what's that?
Yeah.
Lines on
Just
the
the
map.
lines
That's
on
it.
the map.
But,
that don't hold, JP?
No, not if it's not built, I don't see.
no,
Why you can accept a road that's not built?
Yeah, but what if it was deeded in those days to the town?
well, do you know
That
if it
40 foot
was?
right away.
Still isn't an
So
acceptance of a
so
road.
then it looks like what they're gonna have to do, Charlie, is deed 10 more feet over.
No,
Back then, they
not-
didn't do much deeding, though, did they?
They deed an actual road or a place where a road is supposed to be
Something,
built.
Recent,
something
they've
says
been
we
deeding all
researched that, and Ruggiero says we own it. I'd have to go back in the
Nothing
files.
says we gotta build a road.
Well, those days,
We'll say if we own it.
we did build
I think we're
roads
gonna
for
find just
people,
what Joe
they
said.
deeded that.
I think what you're gonna find is just what Joe said, you're gonna find a map with lines on it there, and that's the extent of this thing. I don't think they ever got into it that elaborate to get into all that.
I'm not sure, we'll have to go back and research some of the correspondence, because we got into
If
this a couple
they're
times before.
proposing to start, we ought to do that now.
Oh, yeah, we gotta, I know there's some letters that, I think we hired Ruggiero at the time, and Mark Sperry did some research for us, because it dates back quite a bit, when we were dealing with Jerry
Yeah.
Stern. So, and there is some correspondence on that road. The exact quote, I'm not sure, it's been a while.
Yeah.
But we did spend some money to look at those deeds. But as long as you got the policy 50 feet, I think that'd hold true. Whether it's deeded or lines are there, anything new that's gonna be built has gotta be 50 foot right away. We just can't start changing back and forth because there's some old lines out there, you're right. But I thought I'd bring you up to, forgot that till the road business came up with, here, that,
That's interesting.
that's gonna be quite an impact on the school system if they
Oh,
built.
yes.
Because they do have some shares of Alpine pipeline.
Yeah.
Anything else? Steve?
Just have, and it's up to you if you want to hear it, I just have sort of an update of what we did this year in the legislature and a few local issues that we were working with.
The LCT sent out,
Yeah.
a whole list of what passed, what didn't, or whatever. I think we're more concerned right now about what might be coming up next year, especially with property tax reform.
Interesting, that form in here about survey on that property tax.
That's why I haven't filled them out yet. Does anybody have any questions?
The questions are, it's no, no, no. I think the town should run the tax and not the state at all, so my, yeah.
You're
Yeah,
gonna be,
there's several questions here in reference to, do you want the state to?
That, 'cause I can see stuff on property.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
it says here you're gonna be attending that meeting.
Right, I did, and that's what there's some stuff that's probably new since the LTC report.
Okay. There's an article in the paper, you know, with OP and a few others,
Yeah.
regarding doing some lobbying.
Going door to door.
Well, it was really about, meeting was really sort of about strategy for property tax reform and what it should be. The speaker invited me to come talk with them, sort of as a representative of the town that's property wealthy and what they would feel about any changes in the policy of the house. You know, if the house was going to change its tactics, how would it do it so that it would appease towns that were asked to share in the past bill. And I think that we made some progress. I mean, one of the problems that's been in the House is when you say property tax reform, people who supported H351 assume that you have to have tax sharing in order to have property tax reform. And I think what we were successful in doing, I think the meeting was last Thursday, was changing that sort of thought that you had to share between towns in order to solve the problem that exists in almost every town. In the sense that you've got poor people who live in property wealthy towns, or not even poor people, but middle class people who live in property wealthy towns as well as in property poor towns where we have high tax rates. So I think what the thought is to try to come up with a plan that somehow is more palatable to towns that currently don't have a huge property tax burden. You know, whether it's an income-based system that would tax people based on their ability to pay, or whether you change the foundation formula that currently exists in order to, the foundation formula that currently funds education is a huge disaster because it has it's about $40 million in foundation formula that is used to subsidize, that ultimately subsidizes tax rates for commercial property and for second home non-residential property. Because what it does is it lowers the grand list, or it lowers the tax rate for the entire town rather than just the residents who are paying the taxes in Vermont. And the other thing is to see if you can scale back the tax sharing element of 351 to something more like the governor's proposal, which was like a minimum tax, 67 cents per 100, which left the town off. And the other thing that I brought up that I think is an important element of property tax reform, which we may be able to get some discussion on next year, is the concept of tax classification for commercial real estate. In the sense that Winooski and Burlington now tax their commercial real estate at 120% of assessed fair market value. And the talk that we had at that meeting was, why is this something that occurs only in 2 municipalities in the state? Why isn't it something that's given to all municipalities as a power? And so there was some discussion about different options, and I think what the speaker's trying to do is find more of a common ground between the 50 towns that would be asked to share under 351 and the 200 that would receive that money. So that meeting I thought was productive. We're going to have another one, which everyone's sort of supposed to come back and I guess have more information about the different ideas that were presented at that meeting. But I think the strategy, and the other thing is that the Lieutenant Governor is having a meeting on the 17th. I think it's just for Republicans, so I'm not sure I can go to that one, but it's, hopefully they're going to decide their property tax proposal. And I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, they may, what they've been doing consistently is sort of, they've supported the current sort of refund foundation formula system. And I don't know whether or not they're going to do that throughout this next session as well, or whether they feel pressure to come up with some kind of change to the existing system.
Steve, you got the problem with what's going on right now is that probably what the Republicans did to close the session was proper. The only void in the whole process was there are no cost containments regarding education. I mean, budgets are being passed 10%, 12%, 15% all over the state when the cost of living is running at 3.5%. Until someone is willing to put a lid on how much money people are spending, you know, the whole thing is going to continue to be out of control. And to ask property wealthy communities such as ours and Stowe and a few of the others dump hundreds of thousands of dollars in with absolutely no say on how that money is to be spent. And other communities just going out and spending money and not answering to anybody. Does anybody ever take the time to go out and study exactly where this money is being spent, where money can be saved, rather than just dump money into a bottomless pit at an enormous rate, and now take it from communities who are fairly successful because they made themselves that way, they made sacrifices, they've given away tax dollars to do it, you know, and now that's the only source left. And what happens when those communities are bankrupt? Because that's what it's going to do. So you're going to have 51 more towns maybe in 2 years that are going to be like the other 200.
I think the thing that was good about the meeting was it was sort of the first time that, first of all, somebody from a property wealthy town was included. But secondly, it was the small victory that we got was that for the first time we had people who supported the property tax bill saying that they didn't have to have their bill you know, in order to have property tax reform, so that if the Senate came up with another bill, or somebody else submitted an alternative proposal, and their issue that they're concerned about is equity between towns, or equity between taxpayers, which I think is a bigger issue, that they would be willing to accept something less than what they proposed, which I think was a huge step forward.
Let me tell you, the state can't run this.
Right.
If the state runs this system, we're doomed. Now, the local towns take pretty good care of themselves. I'm going to give you a good instance of that. West Rutland receives approximately $1 million a year state aid for their schools, and yet they voted their budget down 5 times. So they were concerned, even though they were getting a lot of money handed to them. The local people can take care of themselves. Once it gets to the state, forget it. It's not going to work.
Right.
Look what happened to welfare from the time that the overseer of the poor had it to where it is today. Because the state cannot regulate, they don't have local control. You can't take it away from local control. They can talk all these plans just as long as they want to talk them. And the bottom line is when the state takes this over, I agree with Rob, they aren't going to be able to control spending of every town out there because they just can't do that. There's no way they can do it.
Well, one of the things
Where each town can control themselves, and I think the instance I gave you over there is a good instance. Even though they were being well taken care of by state aid, they still voted their budget down 5 times until they felt it was right. So the local communities can take care of themselves, where once that state takes it over, we're doomed.
I think one of the ideas that has always been talked about, at least in the Ways and Means Committee, and didn't come up during the meeting, was the idea of either offering all communities the power of local taxes, or local, I'm trying to think of the name of it, local option taxes, or offering communities that were going to be asked to share the ability to have local option taxes, which would be like sales, rooms and meals, income. You know, I'm not sure what other taxes they would give the local boards the power to levy as an alternative to the property tax, or as an alternate source to raise money, so that the hit on property wealthy towns wouldn't be as great. The thing that's interesting about Rutland Town is that if you took personal property out of the equation, you know, if you said statewide you weren't going to assess the grand list and include in their personal property, Rutland Town would no longer be a sharing town. It wouldn't receive any money, but we wouldn't expend any money either.
Which means that your taxes went up, so where's the benefit?
Well, your taxes wouldn't go up, it would stay neutral.
You're going to pay, my friend, one way or the other. You're going to pay. If they don't take it from you, it means you're paying too much.
How would your taxes go up, though?
Well, if you take the personal
You
property.
take the personal property tax away, you're going to pay in a big way, my friend.
No, you take the personal property out of the statewide equation, out of the tax sharing equation, not out of the local level equation. Just out of the state's assessment of the value of your grand list. If you didn't include in that value the amount of your personal property, Rutland Town would no longer pay into the system. They would receive state aid, they wouldn't pay in. And so those are some of the things that are, I think, being thought about, and I don't know which direction they're going to go in, but that's what's going on. I think there is going to be a property tax bill. And the only reason I tell you that is that, you know, it's an issue that if you represent a county or you're a statewide politician, and I think we've got, next year's an election year, we're going to have lieutenant governor and the governor running against each other. They can't be against property tax reform. And so they're going to try to get something passed. My hope is that they'll pass something that won't kill the town. So that's what I keep trying to figure out, you know, what scenario can we use, what formula can we use so that you don't hit Rutland Town's residential taxpayers.
Best thing is to tell Albert Swiskowski that
Rutland Town is going, I don't care what they pass, Rutland Town is going to hurt. I think the best thing for the state to do is to keep out of it and let the local towns take care of themselves.
That would be the best hope.
Steve, how would Governor Dean, how does he feel about Brattleboro? Pretty good sized town. They kicked out something like 1,000 jobs. Now all of a sudden they need $6 million for their schools, if not more. Is it right for us to help something like that? They actually kicked out clean jobs.
Right.
That was a chance to state that to pay those people off that complain about the trucks or something like that. That's unconscionable.
I tried to make that argument throughout the year about communities that had done significant...
There's no incentive to have any industry in your town, and this is a clean industry.
Well, I tried to talk to people about communities that had made extraordinary levels of commitments of tax stabilization to commercial employers that would come into town, and that fell on deaf ears. That, you know, it didn't matter. They really
I
didn't
think
want
they
to hear
just
it.
come on their own. I mean, you know, things don't just happen.
That didn't work.
Successful towns, people make sacrifices and things can happen.
Right.
When they stop making those sacrifices, then they become a receiver rather than a giver. And that's what's gonna happen to the 51 towns that are out there right now that is so-called property wealthy.
Right.
And this state is gonna tumble into such a recession, it's gonna take 6 governors to get it out.
The problem is that with the tax, as I've said before, the problem with 351, the big problem with 351, is it doesn't account for the fact that the people in the property wealthy towns are not wealthy. And that is a huge error. You know, just because they may pay less in property taxes doesn't mean that they have extraordinarily high incomes. And so that's the biggest failure in my mind, is that you don't tax people based on how much money they earn.
And no matter what method you use, until you contain costs, the system will always be out of control.
The more you give them, the more they spend.
And that may be what we ultimately end up doing. It might be sort of a compromise between both sides, but, you know, I think, go ahead.
Because the forefathers here and the town fathers have done a good job in this town.
Right.
There's still hundreds and hundreds of people here who are, their pay scale isn't that high.
Right, exactly.
And just because we have got a good, friendly, decent tax base, they shouldn't be coming after the smaller people.
Exactly. And that's one of the failings. That's one of the things that I hope that they'll change, or whatever plan they accept, is that they'll have more of an income factor that determines people's tax bills based on how much money they earn, rather than on the house they live in or the town they live in. I don't think that has very much to do with it. The other couple of things that I wanted to just run by you. One is Woodstock Avenue and Post Road sidewalks. I know that was an issue that I'd raised before and people had talked to you guys about. I had been talking with the Secretary of Transportation about getting a sidewalk built on Post Road from Town Line Road down to the mall. And the response I got from the planner and Agency of Transportation, and I don't know how definitive it is, but they don't want to do any construction of sidewalks on a road like on Woodstock Avenue until they know what the EIS study for the bypass says. Right.
They got on that one.
Because they, you know, if in fact they have to build another lane on Woodstock Avenue or whatever they have to do, they don't have to dig up their sidewalk. Now that may be just an excuse to get me off their back, but that's what they've said so far. I put another letter in the mail, and I've called the secretary since, talked to him about it again, to see what we can do, but that was their response to the first inquiry.
How about taking the part right now that's a problem, which is from where it ends by, I believe it's Arby's. Is it in by Arby's, the sidewalk? The sidewalk now ends at Arby's. It definitely should go to that mall entrance.
Yeah.
That should be done now, no matter what the EIS is gonna say, because a lot of us aren't gonna be around by the time that thing is developed.
Yeah.
So I think that we better take care of where we got the problem now. People are walking down along Woodstock Avenue to get to that mall when they leave that sidewalk.
Walking on the road, actually.
And I think you ought to approach them at this point on at least taking care of that now.
So I've got,
How we doing with the bicycle path and up the recreation area?
I'm just going to ask you, just talk to you about the other thing, which is the sidewalk on Post Road. I've been working, and I put a bill in to get a sidewalk built from the Rutland Town school line to the Chisana Drive, so that the kids who live in Chisana Drive, and hopefully on the other side too, the kids who live in that neighborhood, Easy Street, could walk to school, and especially in the winter without having to walk in the road. I was approached by 2 or 3 mothers who were concerned about having their kids walk on Post Road. Here's what the Transportation Committee said. They had a hearing on the bill and decided that they weren't going to build a sidewalk on a town highway. But one of the things that came out of that was that the vice chair of the committee, Al Perry, what they really said was, if Steve gets his sidewalk in Rutland Town, gee, I want one in St. Albans, and I want one here, and I want one here. So, you know, it sort of got turned into a little bit of a circus. But one of the things that the vice chair understood, he sort of oversaw the meeting, that there is a need to help towns build sidewalks on town highways, especially as development grows, like, you know, especially like out towards the mall, the new mall. There's no sidewalks on Holiday Inn on down, that there's going to have to be some kind of a formula to help this community. So he wanted me to work with him over the summer on developing a formula to get aid to towns that would go from building sidewalks. The grant for the bike paths can't go parallel to any highway or to any road. In other words, they've got to be off the road, and so you can't build it like a sidewalk. The other problem with it is there's some problems with slopes. There's some slope requirements that make their slopes are too steep. Yeah, so we could build bike paths. We could probably get a grant. We could get a committee to write the grant. You know, we can get somebody together to write the grant. But we have to really place it carefully because of those requirements. And the other thing I wanted to update you on was the water situation in those 5 neighborhoods that the Sunshine Water Company serves. We have some good news in the sense that the Public Service Board suspended the rate increase that was proposed for another 7 months. He was looking for he wanted to increase the rates from $250 a year to about $1,500 a year. They suspended that for 7 more months to do some further investigation of his books and his operations. But in the meantime, I've had an organizational meeting now in every neighborhood. One neighborhood's formed a fire district already. The other neighborhoods all sort of wanted to wait until they had some information about city water and whether or not their neighborhood could get city water. So I wrote to the mayor's office and the Board of Aldermen and just asked them, if you wanted city water, is it there? What would you have to do to get it? You know, what's the general information? Talked to the mayor last week, and he said, and to Ben Connor as well, that the same sort of criteria that they applied to Windcrest they would apply to these other neighborhoods. They didn't think ownership of the line was that big a deal, but the point where they thought there would have to be some negotiation was who would pay to put the main in and to lay the connection or connect to the system. So what I'm doing now is I have to have another meeting with each of the neighborhoods and tell them what the city said, and ask them what they want to do. Whether they want to. My feeling is that they all want to get on city water if they can, but I don't know that for a fact. So I'll probably have another series of meetings with them to have them decide what they want to do. But I just want to let you know about that so you wouldn't be caught off guard. And I think that's it.
Anybody have anything to do? That's the agenda for the evening.
Yeah, I've got a question. What are you guys going to do about burning the flag amendment?
Burning the flag amendment. The House, okay, here's what happened. The House passed a sort of watered down, non-burning the flag resolution, which I didn't vote for. I voted for the original resolution that the American Legion presented. That was the resolution that passed in the Senate, and they're in conference committee right now. I don't know what's gonna happen, because the two sides are so far apart that I don't know whether they're gonna form another conference committee or just continue to disagree or what. But my sense is that someone's gonna probably. I would assume that they would introduce another resolution. And I think probably the same thing would happen. It wouldn't pass the House, and then it would pass in the Senate, and we'd start the whole thing over again.
Has that not passed 46 other states?
Passed in every state except
Every
for one.
state but Vermont.
Every state but
We're number one.
What's the problem? I mean, give
Well,
us a break.
I don't understand it. I mean, I
Number
voted,
one, welfare number one.
Boys up and clean up that Montpelier.
I agree.
I voted for the resolution that they originally submitted. They had a substitute amendment that would substitute the original language for the watered down language. I voted for the original language, and then I voted against the watered down language.
How'd you make out, you find any money for the monuments and stuff like that?
That we may be able to do next year. I did ask the commissioner to give me some information about that, and he didn't have it in his budget yet, but he's gonna write me back with that. I mean, for the monument out front.
Yeah, right, that thing.
You ain't gonna live that long.
So that's the,
I leave it.
I've heard of it 3 years ago to give us money.
Anything else for Steve?
About the bypass.
Flags come a long ways when I was a young fellow. You could only hang it out in
Let's see if
daylight,
it's done.
only if it wasn't raining.
Right.
Yeah, we've also come into a new century since you were young.
Yeah, I understand that. Let me tell you something. It's beginning to look to me like the old one wasn't so bad.
Right?
Took it down and done it.
Oh, yeah, if it rained, you couldn't
Yeah,
put it out.
run right out there and get it. I remember that in school.
some actually stop.
Now, if you walk into a store and they got a display on the
Flag in
counter
back of my-
with a bunch of flags in it, you're wondering if the guy ahead of you isn't gonna light them on fire.
Oh, you see them dragging after they take it down. You see them dragging along the ground.
God.
Hope we don't get caught.
What's that?
You wanna answer that statement?
Oh, yeah, I got one. No, you're darn right you wanna answer that. I brought that up a few minutes
Who
ago.
sent that statement?
You said you were gonna take care of that?
Yeah, I know how you feel.
Oh. Okay, Joe, can you highlight mine?
No, I didn't get one in here.
You didn't
for
get
some
one?
reason, no.
Yeah, that's what I was reading. See it there, dude?
They like pull all of us now.
We're making sure his package doesn't have all this.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's, you know,
No. Do we wanna answer this?
I don't know, I thought I had one. I saw one in there.
Take care of it? Okay.
No, I'm sorry, I got the.
Oh, yeah, right here, I do have it.
Yeah, now.
I got the governing board, but I don't have the statewide poll.
I was gonna say,
I know.
Maybe we ought to tell Joe if this is unanimous or what, because it kinda asks that here. On each one of those, question one.
Yeah.
All right, does your board favor the concept of the state taxing property in your town or city for the purpose of establishing a state control fund to be, shared by some towns or cities to support education costs? And then we'll discuss that. Anybody have a differing opinion? Does your board favor the concept of the state taxing property in other towns or cities for the purpose of establishing a state control fund to be shared by some towns or cities to support education costs?
No.
Question 3, does your board favor the state raising general tax revenue to support a state-controlled fund to be shared by some towns or cities to support education costs?
can you read that question again? Which tax is going on?
Does your board favor the state raising general tax revenue to support a state-controlled fund to be shared by some towns or cities to support education costs? Is that the current formula?
Certain
That's like
types of
sales tax.
sales tax, maybe?
That's broad-based tax. That's what we got now.
Yeah. Raise the sales tax.
Yeah, I think you said yes.
Do something.
Well, let's look at it closely before we do that,
We're
because I'm
sharing.
for raising the sales.
There's no
tax.
sharing,
I'm
yeah.
afraid that if you give them a yes here, that they're gonna state,
No
mandate
sharing,
this
huh?
thing somewhere. But it'll be run by the state, I agree with you, that's been
Once it
my
gets up to
argument.
Mount Dewey,
I'm
they
afraid
come
to
back.
say yes to it, I really am.
Richard Alexander and Vernon. Property wealth of town.
I think it's all no, Joe, let the towns do what they have to do.
It's not sent by Richard Alexander, I would assume a citizen, probably representing us.
Wait a minute. Dave and Tim, you got,
They
No,
got
they just
trouble
here.
on their minds, that's what they got.
Popped in.
You guys look like you got trouble on your
No,
minds.
no,
Civic duty and showing up.
So Joe,
Will you give us an escort to our vehicle?
That's right.
we can't adjourn till I get this third question answered here.
It
Put 'em on,
doesn't
though.
specify what they're thinking, and then because of that, I would rather say no. If they were, right there it said, would you like to buy the sales tax, I might say yes, but the way that's so broad, and the way they're trying so hard to be state regulated, I'd have to say no. If they'll specify that one, I'd answer differently, but not the way it is.
Okay. That's it.
okay.
I move to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.